Dina Sliman. As I mentioned earlier, she is the chairperson and CEO of a design and contracting company, and I'd like to welcome her. Thank you very much, Dina, for coming today.
Thank you.
Now, I have lots of questions for you because off air we talked about so many things, and responsible women like you, how they take the responsibility or assume the responsibility at a very early age. And this is very important to highlight, so we'll be doing this. But let's take a look at your profile, then we'll be right back.
Thank you.
Stay tuned. Welcome back. Now, Dina, let me start with why you chose the field of engineering, because this is somehow, I would say, a challenging field or discipline for girls and women. Usually here in Egypt, we have this educational culture that there are certain disciplines that are more convenient for boys, while other disciplines are more convenient for girls. But some brave, I would say many, not some, many brave Egyptian girls do challenge this concept, and they actually decide to conquer this field.
Well, actually, this is what happens. There are some that abide with this, and they really concentrate on going into a conquering field. But no, it's a good percentage now. I wouldn't say it's a 50-50, but it's something like a 30-70 percentage. We like such a thing, you know. It's basically you get to decide on it at an early age if you're a science person, a science-oriented person, or a literature-oriented based person. So once you're science, then you have to go into the fields of that you can go into that. The challenging part is to go. I'm officially graduated as a mechanical engineer. That was the big challenge of it, because this is usually under engineering a field that's usually covered by men.
Yes.
It's not, you wouldn't find so many aviation or mechanical or electrical engineers as you would like to love to see around you, but no. But yes, that was it. Yeah, I just decided on that.
And you got some support from your family as well?
Definitely. We are an engineering family. I mean, both my parents are engineers,
that
my
makes
uncle,
some difference.
we are, and they've all been working into the field. So I started working at the age of 13, 14 as a tea and coffee clerk at the office.
Well, you were just telling me this before we went on air.
Yes.
And that was a surprise for me, because being a CEO and owner of a company is such a prestigious position, of course, but many people think that they take this by inheritance but you told me before we went on air that you took it from the very early start, preparing coffee and doing stuff that no other people could do at a very early age as well.
Which is part of the inheritance, because this is what I believe is the right thing if you want your kids to go or to continue your career somehow, or if it's a family-based office or company. This is the way to do it. You have to get the kids involved from the beginning so that they know how every job is very relevant, how every person, you cannot at any time demean any job. No, you have to know that everyone has a cause and everyone has an effect at the same time.
Yes.
So yes, I started as a tea and coffee person, then a clerk, then let's say an assistant secretary, and then a filing and archiving person, and then I came to be an engineer finally.
But this reflects somehow responsible and at the same time parents who are very understanding of how the market works and how to build a character that is eligible for the market.
For the market and for
and
life.
for life.
For life.
And for
Yes,
life.
for
Because
life.
I see so many families, if they have their own business, the family has its own business, their daughters or their children would go exactly to the higher post or directly to,
Yes,
to
to
the
the
higher
high
post,
post.
board member or whatever,
Sure.
decision-making post directly.
Yes.
But starting from the very early stages or steps of work reflects how your family understood the importance of preparing you for the market and for the challenges of the market and as life.
They did that actually, and they thought of it even in another spectrum as well. They got me involved into Rotary and events and social works at a very early age. At the age of 16 or 17, I've started that field as well. So this is where they actually correct you to be on the right way of discipline. How can you be responsible for yourself and others and think about others before yourself? Because believe it or not, once you're into the business field, there's always the main item of understanding how people around you, or I mean employees that you are there heading, how do they feel? You know, it's not only like giving orders around and people have to just say okay and they have to compliment you on it. No, no, no. You have to see how it's going to affect them internally and accordingly how it's going to affect the work field.
Yes, and creating a win-win situation.
Yes,
and if
exactly.
in order to do that, you have to be able to deal with different mentalities, people of various backgrounds, and the charitable work or the volunteer work actually enables you to do that.
Yes, especially when you go into contracting after that, because this is a challenging world where you have to always deal every day with a very, very
I was going to
simple
move
man.
to that right
Okay,
now.
so let's go.
Contracting. Now,
Yes.
this is again a very specific field that is limited to men.
Yes,
Because
it
it
is.
requires dealing with workers of certain backgrounds, of certain way of education, certain way of treatment, that is very difficult for women to handle.
Yes, it is. Well, I didn't choose contracting just like that. I had to start with the design field because when I had graduated, I graduated as a mechanical engineer with minor in art and architecture, and then later on I had to take a diploma to be a fully, because okay, starting a family that comes, the ancestry is all engineering, so they told you, no, you cannot just do anything because you like it, you have to do the studies for it. And then an international diploma from Rhodes in London. So the thing is, to do all of that together, you had to be a designer. A designer is okay. Yes, I used to draw so many nice things on paper and on computer, but then whenever anyone takes it to just implement it on real life, they don't get it out the way I want. So I had to get involved into the contracting jobs of it. And actually it came out from that. Now we do work, I mean, fully in contracting. We don't build. We do the finishing of the works and we do everything that comes just after the bricks. But the thing is that you're there with the workers from the cement and sand up to the the finishing touches of ornaments and towels and wallpaper and paintings. So,
Okay.
yeah.
Now, this brings me to a very important question. I've always wondered, Egypt or Cairo, in the past, let's say with the beginning of the 20th century and moving on until the 50th,
Yes.
until the 50s. Egypt maintained special architectural design, especially if you go downtown, you would see like copy of how the streets are in downtown Paris and Italy and other European cities. Unfortunately, starting with the late 60s, if I'm correct, things started to change and we started building blocks,
Yes.
actually ugly blocks that
Very
lacked
ugly.
any very ugly blocks that lack any touch of beauty.
Yes.
And this contradicted with the artistic touch that you would find in
the
architecture
early,
in an earlier
Yes.
era. Yeah, since the Khedive until the
Yes.
50s, as I mentioned. And I have this book from the library of the AUC called Paris by the River Nile.
Yes.
And it shows you the pictures, black and white, of
Yes.
everything, the steel, the concrete, the ornaments, the engraving, everything, the facades of the buildings, and how this, and they show you the copy of this in other Western countries.
And believe it or not, some of them were done here in Egypt first, and they were copied over there. But usually the designers were French and Italian.
Yes.
To do that.
What happened? Since you are an architect.
I believe it's a matter of budget, and it's a matter of the communism era that we went into in Egypt in the 60s, and of course with the Russian touch of being into communism, not because the Russian touch as the Russian touch, they do have the best architectural fields in the world.
Yes.
They do have this, but believe it or not, it's even over there. So I think that was the implementation, yeah.
But there were efforts afterwards, but that was
well, you
later.
cannot break a block. You know, once it's there, it's there. Like I mean, in
building the new cities, and with the emergence of new cities and new neighborhoods in Cairo, if I may say, like the 5th settlement, for example, or the 6th of October city. But again, you would find the villas or the buildings like copy and paste of each other, and there is no individual artistic touch.
No, not only that, they sometimes put things that are not very. This I believe is unprofessional engineering, nothing else, because they actually even sometimes put things that are Roman to mix in with Italian, which are undoable.
Exactly.
They're undoable. It's just a taste of a person. It's usually a client. This is another problem that we face in the market, and actually it's a challenge when we come to work, because sometimes a client comes in, she likes this picture and likes that picture, and she wants both to be just merged together into one villa or into one building, or internally or externally. And then it's the matter of our work, which is the designing work, to sit down with her and actually try to get a median between both and to convince her or him, but it's usually a her.
But it's usually her.
It's usually a her.
Unfortunately. Yeah. But don't you think that there should be a role by the government to impose certain restrictions in order to maintain the style of the city? Because I wouldn't say that I want Cairo, that would be a dream. I want Cairo to be like Barcelona, for example, where you go and you find like there is special architectural design of the city.
I believe you have to, but I don't know how they can actually make it work. But yes, you do have to, and actually this works all over the world. I mean, if you find some places, I mean, let's say in the U.S., which is fairly new grounds, so that people put, it's the East Coast has a taste, and actually it's usually colonial, a little bit British and French, and then you have to abide with it if you're going to build any new building now, or you're going to demolish and redo things. Actually, on contrary to the West Coast, if you go to California or anything, it's usually a little bit Spanish, Mexican look, and you still, if you're getting any house, you cannot just have a house that looks modern beside a house that looks very colonial, beside another house that's Mexican, beside the Roman house. No, you cannot have that. There are rules and regulations. There are looks that you have to abide.
That's what I'm talking about.
But no, unfortunately, this hasn't been in the country for the last, let's say, 60 or 70 years. So to start it now as if you're initiating a totally new thing,
yes,
I don't know how they can implement that. I wish they can, but I don't know how it can be done.
Okay. Okay, now I want to get back to the issue of how you balance between your work, being a CEO of an engineering company, and also the challenges that you face as a woman, because you have your house, you have your kids, and of course this is the problem facing Egyptian women in general, but Egyptian women in particular, because if they don't get enough support from the family, that would increase the load on them.
Yes, exactly. Actually, I have to tell you, it is an increasing load, and the thing is, you have to, I mean, meet any of the people I work with, and they will tell you Dina is a not a multitask person. Actually, it's much funnier than this. Dina is a multi-personality person. You know, at the morning, you have to be a mother and say good morning, get the kid to school, and then have a breakfast and be a woman at home and tell them, okay, I need this to be cleaned and that to be cleaned. Of course, you have to get some help. And then there are things that you do on your own, and then you go to work. And at the office, you're a nice person in a suit, and then you go down to the site, and you have to shout and yell and be a totally different person.
Exactly.
And then meet a client for a coffee and convince her with something, and then actually get her into another, which is a totally different mood, then go into any of your social work in the evening. Of course, I'm exaggerating. It's never all in the same day. But
Most
this is
days
a
are-
different
yeah.
suit, and
Yeah.
then go back home again and eat dinner and be nice and see, and then let's see what's going to happen again with the workload. Being the chairperson of your company actually puts a double load on the person. This is what we were discussing when we
Yes.
were off air.
Off air.
Because people always misunderstand or mislead that people you're the owner, so you can go at any time and come at any time. No, actually, that's not true. You're there 24/7 because you're the one responsible at the end of the thing. Because it's a firm, yes, but at the end, a designing firm is usually all around or all about the designer themselves. So if you have a client at any moment, yes, at the end of the day, she wants Dina to be doing the design. She doesn't know the company. She doesn't need the employees. She doesn't need any engineering site member. No, at the end of the day, you're the one responsible. At the same time, there's all the office work and the banking and then there's the house. And I do have a teenage daughter, so that's another load on its own.
That's a totally different story.
That is.
Tell me about it.
Yes.
Okay. Now, as we mentioned, you are performing multitasks, and many women are like you. Perhaps you've traveled around the globe, Dina, and perhaps you've met women who work like you, maybe in the same profession, maybe in other professions, but facing more or less the same challenges. Do you think that Egypt provides a healthy environment for women like you to grow and flourish, or is it the other way around?
That's a very tricky question. Why go there? Well, it helps and it doesn't help. We have to be honest about it. Of course, here in Egypt, having all the help that you can have from the family and the family support and the grandmother being around the kids and our family.
Sometimes the mother-in-law.
Yeah, sometimes the mother-in-law. No. It's always, I'm saying grandmother on both sides.
This is limited to Egypt or to the Middle East?
It's a help. Actually, to Egypt more even than the Middle East.
Yes.
And having supporting friends and supporting atmosphere of people whom you can, there is more of, let me put it how, it's more of the family attachment or the sentimental attachment between, it helps you a lot. But on the other hand, of course, the job itself is a harder job in Egypt because the environment, well, people are more into a male's world than a female world. Unfortunately, I have to say that, although I'm challenging this all my life.
This is a program for women. It's called Women's World, and we
Yes.
discuss openly all the challenges
But
facing
no,
women
it is-
because
it
we
is-
want to find
it is
solutions.
It is a man's country.
Yes,
Believe it
we,
or not, at
we
the end.
are saying the truth because we want to find solutions to this problem. We are
Exactly.
challenging all
It
this.
is, yes, we have to challenge it, but at the end of the day, it's a man's world. Yes, they appreciate you, they appreciate that you're a woman, they know that you're good at your job, but at the end of the day, you're not a man. So this is a challenge on its own. Abroad, no. This is more or less killed. Although I've heard a study recently from a friend of mine who works in a multinational company that you wouldn't find as huge of a number of women working as CEOs, especially in the banking sector and the engineering sector, as in Egypt. I mean, yes.
That's a surprise.
Yes.
Okay.
And it's a study by numbers because even abroad there are so many women, but it's usually into the lines of fashion, magazines,
Yes.
writing, so and so. The hard task jobs, as we say, or let's say where we need hand labor more than others, it's more women in power here in Egypt.
That's a positive note,
Yes, it
and
is.
with that we can wrap up this edition with a call for more support.
Definitely, definitely.
Dina Sliman, Chairman and CEO of a design and contracting company. Thank you very much for
Thank
being
you.
with us.
Thank
It's been
you.
a great honor
Thank you.
hosting
Mine
you.
too.
Thank you very
Thank
much.
you.
And ladies and gentlemen, that's all for this edition of Women's World. I'm Helal Hamalawi signing off, but I'll be back in a few minutes with the Hour's Top Stories.